You're listening to Transurfing Yourself on Manifest Lab. Grab a comfortable spot and enjoy. Ebooks and digital copies are available in the description below. Part I, New Reality, A New Level. The new time, from the moment it arrived, brought two new meanings into what we call the technology of managing reality, into transurfing. The first, you made up your own problems. They aren't real. Sounds unconvincing? Someone might object. What do you mean I made it up? I didn't invent my problems. They're really happening. And they're about as real as it gets because I genuinely feel terrible. On the other hand, he might agree that you've earned your problems. That's true to one degree or another. But why made up? And why not real? It becomes clear if you compare sleep to waking life. In a dream, you're plunged headfirst into whatever's happening, and you helplessly stew in it, even if something horrific and unimaginable is going on. You believe it's all real, you accept that it's genuinely happening, but you can't do a thing about it because you're not aware of yourself. You're just floundering in that moment, here and now. Is the moment real? For you, yes, because you're asleep and you believe in all of it. And so you're completely at the mercy of that script. You handed yourself over to it. But in waking life, it works exactly the same way. How does a problem get dreamed up? Pretty much the way a movie plot develops. You walk into any life situation as if it were a dream or a film, and you gradually inflate whatever is happening there. The script is leading you, but you're actively co-writing it, yes? Things are getting worse and worse, you conclude. Something unpleasant happens. You get upset. What comes next? Logically, nothing good. Something has to be done. Something has to be decided. And you sink into this waking dream and stew in it exactly the way you would in an actual dream. The problem becomes real, yes, but it was created artificially, speculatively, by your own logical mind. And if that's the case, if the problem was simply made up, can't you unmake it just as easily, deflate it? You can, if you wake up and see how flimsy it really is. After all, it was invented first and only became real afterward. Take a good look at your problem from this angle. Take it as a given that what happens in waking life is, at its core, the very same kind of dream. All you need to do is wake up inside the dream, recognize it as a dream, and start practicing a lucid waking dream. Now that's a real new level. Waking up and seeing everything with a clear mind, yourself, what's happening, the problem. Setting the reality you want for yourself isn't hard, it's a piece of cake. The hardest part is rising out of the waking dream. But understand this and do it. The second meaning, you yourself aren't real either. You made up your present-day self too. You've piled a mountain of rags onto yourself. Layers of a self that's no good for anything. You need to rewind your life. There was a time when you were real, strong and free, when the whole world seemed within reach, your yous. And you were simply you. That might have been in childhood or your teenage years. Remember yourself at that moment. What it felt like when nothing seemed like an obstacle and you felt capable of anything. And then it started. With every setback, you became more and more convinced that the world wasn't so pliable after all and that your abilities were pretty limited. The same thing happened to me. There were moments of a state where everything was, by definition, good and within reach. And then it would turn out that things weren't like that, that nothing was simple. But now I see that it didn't turn out that way. It only seemed that way. All of it was just something I made up and piled onto myself, voluntarily and foolishly. Back then I had no idea I could set my own reality, anywhere I wanted. What would it be like if I were real, and if I hadn't invented myself and my problems? There wouldn't be any problems, and I'd be free and strong. So isn't it time to give yourself, back to yourself? Classic transurfing only partly helps you manage your life. But it's time to move up to a new level. Anything is possible if you are real. To get there, once again, you need to wake up and remember who you actually are. Could you answer one simple yet surprisingly non-trivial question? WHO. Not on the surface level, where you're from, what you do, your social status, but deeper, what or who stands behind all of that. Sure, you have some vague, half-asleep sense of who you are, but not really. So who are you, really, underneath it all? Not the version buried under every projection and personality trait you've accumulated over a lifetime. It Fat and Matilda asked the Glamrocks that exact question in Priestess It Fat. The Glamrocks had forgotten who they really were within the dream and convinced themselves they were mannequins whose whole purpose in life was to read some kind of gibberish. They couldn't answer the question until they were forced to ask it of themselves, WHOAMI, RI, ALLY. Only then did they remember their true selves. In the same way, Koshisa asked all the inhabitants of meta-reality a similar question. Do you know yourself? The characters in the dreams couldn't answer. They just got furious and dodged the question every which way. Why? Because within a dream you're not aware of yourself and you don't remember yourself. Same goes for the waking dream. But how can that be? How can I possibly not be aware of myself, not remember myself? That kind of uncertainty is unsettling and unnerving, so you want to run from it, hide behind the mask of some identity you invent for yourself, but which you aren't. And that's exactly why the vague unease never actually goes away. All in all, this is a huge topic, and the task of waking up, remembering yourself, and erasing your problems isn't something that happens overnight either. The terms of the problem sound radical, admittedly, that your problems aren't real, that you yourself aren't real, and who even are you, anyway? But the solutions will be just as radical, so things will become clear soon enough. Let's take it step by step. Summary. You made up your own problems. They aren't real. In a dream, you plunge headfirst into whatever's happening and helplessly stew in it, even when something unimaginable is going on. You believe it's all real, you accept that it's genuinely happening, but you can't do anything about it because you're not aware of yourself. You walk into any like situation as if it were a dream or a film, and you gradually inflate whatever is happening there. The script leads you, but you actively co-write it. Yes, things are getting worse and worse, you conclude. The problem becomes real, but it was created artificially, speculatively, by your own logical mind. A made-up problem can be unmade, just as easily, deflated, if you wake up and see how flimsy it really is. We're going to practice lucid waking dreams. You yourself aren't real either. You made up your present-day self too. At some point, in childhood or your teenage years, you were real, strong and free, and the whole world seemed within reach, yours, and you were simply you. But then, over the course of your life, you piled on a mountain of destructive beliefs, problems, and complexes. It's time to give yourself back to yourself. You need to wake up and remember who you really are. That's what this whole book is about. A mountain made of the sun. 1. Give in to negative thoughts and turn them into destructive beliefs. 2. Cut those thoughts off and redirect them into something positive. It's crucial to track not just where your attention is, which dream it's absorbed in, but also your destructive, made-up stories about yourself and your problems. Track them and cut them off at the root right away. Redirect them toward the positive. Constantly catch yourself. What am I making up right now? Because it will turn into reality and become a real problem. The trigger here is usually a situation that stirs up feelings like gloom, worry, anxiety, despair, helplessness. Feelings that spill over into heavy brooding about your situation and about yourself. Any negative experience will do it. At that moment, you're standing at a fork in the road, facing a choice. Sounds like the principle of coordination of intention in transurfing, doesn't it? But just knowing the principle doesn't help you, because you don't know how to wake up in time to apply it. All your knowledge is worth absolutely nothing if you're stuck in an unconscious dream. Here's the thing, you might understand what's happening in reality and with you, and even know how to manage it. But that knowledge does nothing for you, because you only understand it after the fact, once it's already happened. Kind of ridiculous, isn't it? In a dream, the situation controls you. So it's not about knowledge, it's about the skill of waking up. That's why we're going to work on techniques for lucid waking dreams. This is the move to the next level, where you control the situation, and more importantly, yourself. How do you learn this? Practice waking up by trigger until it becomes a habit. If you don't track your attention, your waking dream will never turn into a lucid one. We'll talk more about this later, but for now there's one simple thing to grasp. Nothing pulls you deeper into the dream than negative experiences and, as a result, dreaming up stories about yourself and your problems. In the Tafti Idfat community, there was a parable about a mountain made of the sun. Let me repeat it here. I was once visiting a town called Sungorsk. It got its name because right in the center stood a mountain made of the sun. and I noticed that its inhabitants, snails, disappeared somewhere all day and only came back in the evening. So I started asking them about it. How are you doing, snails? Where do you disappear to? We're doing badly. We're basically wasting away. What do you do all day? Until noon we climb the mountain made of the sun, and then until evening we climb back down. We're exhausted. That's just how we live. Why do you climb it in the first place? Well, that's just how it's done. You climb the mountain made of the sun. But why? We don't know. That's just how it's always been. And then I said to them, you don't have to climb that mountain made of the sun at all. And they were stunned. Is that even allowed? Is that even allowed? Not only is it allowed, you don't need to. Sit in your little houses and go about your business. Well, how wonderful, how marvelous, they rejoiced. And from that day on, life became easy and simple for them. Summary. It's crucial to track your destructive made-up stories about yourself and your problems. Constantly catch yourself. What am I making up right now? Because it will turn into reality and become a problem. The trigger can be any negative experience. Gloom, worry, anxiety, despair, helplessness. You need to wake up and cut those thoughts off immediately. Redirect them toward the positive. All your knowledge is worth nothing if you're stuck in an unconscious dream. Practice waking up by trigger until it becomes a habit. There's no mountain. The first signs that we were entering the new reality appeared on December 22, 2020. The planetary energies shifted. Specialists who track this saw it happen. The dark, difficult age of Pisces gave way to the hopeful age of Aquarius, the way dawn follows a long night. This isn't just a marker on a timeline. The new time has its own distinct qualities. One of them is that the watchman's riddle takes on special significance and a renewed meaning in the new reality. Let me remind you how it went. Every person can gain the freedom to choose whatever they want. Here's your riddle. How do you get that freedom? If you solve it, your apples will fall into the sky. And the answer is, you gain freedom the moment you stop fighting your battle. What does gaining the freedom to choose whatever I want mean? It's about achieving your goals. All of transurfing at its core is about how to get what you want. 1. The power and strength of your intention has grown significantly. 2. So has the wall of obstacles that you build for yourself through your own battle. But why does the watchman's phrasing use the word choose rather than achieve, strive for, chase, or pursue? Because when you follow the principles of transurfing, a goal comes true far more easily and simply than it does through ordinary experience. Your job is to choose your goal, the way you'd choose a dish from a menu, and then the order essentially fills itself. Ordinary experience tells you that's not how it works. Apples don't fall into the sky. But the experience of transurfers confirms that this is exactly how it works. If you do everything right, in line with the principles, achieving a goal comes down to something like walking to the kiosk for a newspaper, figuratively speaking. Of course, nothing comes instantly. You still have to walk there, and to get something you usually have to give or do something in return. But broadly, that's how it goes. So, what gets in the way? Everything you call your battle on the way to your goal. It turns out that stopping the battle isn't such a simple task. Because your head is loaded with templates from ordinary experience, nothing comes that easy. There's not enough to go around. You have to work hard. All the spots are taken, there's no money, and besides, you're not capable and you don't deserve it, and the goal is out of reach, and on. So what gets in the way? Everything you call your battle on the way to your goal. As a result, instead of a pleasant stroll to the kiosk, you end up in a grueling battle for the newspaper. All 5 volumes of Reality Transurfing are essentially devoted to calming you down, relax, this is your newspaper, it's not going anywhere, just understand this, do that, and you'll get what's yours, just settle down already. But you keep fighting anyway, because surely it can't be that simple. I know exactly how that goes. I've fought that battle my whole life, and even now I still slip back into it now and then. So, here's what showed up in the new time. 2 new features. The battle mostly consists of a negative attitude toward whatever surrounds you and whatever you come into contact with. Primitive reflexes take over, getting irritated, angry, judgmental, indignant, anxious, expressing displeasure. The instant one of these reflexes kicks in, your energy and your vibrations drop immediately. When it comes to achieving goals, the wall of obstacles, the battle, rests mainly on the importance of the goal itself. That importance shows up as 1. Wanting to achieve it while also fearing failure, that is, craving. 2. The goal being hard to reach for you. It requires too much money, it's unclear how it would even happen, you lack the ability, you don't deserve it, and so on and so on. The point is that right now, in achieving your goals, more than even the strength of your intention, is the absence of the mountain that you built yourself. The mountain gets such a grand name, made of the sun, because it's actually made of importance. All that grandeur is just inflated importance, it's invented. You made this up yourself. I have a goal, but it's really hard to reach. It's a mountain, and I have to claw my way up it with everything I've got. And now, it's absolutely essential to adopt a different belief instead. There is no mountain, it only exists in my head. I'm walking across a plain, calmly taking what's mine. My goal is achieved easily and simply. The universe is abundant, and everything is available to me. The thought form, the hair is no mountain, can be more effective than stubbornly broadcasting an intention to climb the mountain. Notice this. If your intention hasn't come true for a long time, chances are you convinced yourself it's a tall mountain, and you're clawing your way up it with everything you've got. Take down the mountain. First, then go get your newspaper from the kiosk. 1. The power and strength of your intention has grown significantly. 2. So has the wall of obstacles that you build for yourself through your own battle. Right now, in achieving your goals, what matters more than even the strength of your intention is the absence of the mountain that you built yourself. In reality, the mountain is made of invented importance. You need to adopt a different belief instead. There is no mountain. It only exists in my head. I'm walking across a plain, calmly taking what's mine. My goal is achieved easily and simply. The universe is abundant, and everything is available to me. The thought form, there is no mountain, can be more effective than stubbornly broadcasting an intention to climb the mountain. Take down the mountain first. Then, go get your newspaper from the kiosk. Questions and feedback. God, this is exactly what I needed to hear. This is so funny. Take down the mountain and go get the newspaper. My mom used to say the same thing when I was a kid. Take out the trash and go to the store. What's amazing is that the universe actually helps you get to your goal when you stop rushing it, stop pushing, and stop suffering over the fact that it hasn't landed in your hands yet. Little steps show up, and you understand their meaning later. The key is not to miss them and to grab the chances that show up at the right time, and you literally feel, this is where I need to go, or this is exactly what I need to do. Especially those sudden coincidences that come out of nowhere. I've got just one question left. How do I love myself? I look for things to love about myself and find only 3, while there are 30 things I'm definitely not great at. You can't do this in a resting state. Love is actually a process. A fire either burns, fed with more wood, or it goes out. You need to work on developing yourself. Then you'll have something to respect yourself for, only through the process. Is it possible to achieve a goal not by running slides, but by using the feeling of the goal already being achieved? How I'd feel once it's done. Because some goals are abstract, and slides just don't apply there. Feelings also come more naturally to me than visualization. The state, where you feel as though the goal is already achieved, can be even more powerful than visualization itself. You only ever get what you match. If your current state doesn't match the goal yet, you need to run slides to bring the goal into your comfort zone. What's the difference between making up problems and seeing a little ahead, having foresight? Making things up means piling on importance where there is none, and there almost never is any. Watching for the made-up stories. Let's recap and repeat the key ideas from the previous chapters, because they really are key. Read it again and be amazed, but wake up first. ALL, your knowledge is worth absolutely nothing if you're stuck in an unconscious dream, and you're in the waking dream constantly, always. Let that sink in. There's nothing more complicated than simple things that sit right on the surface but never get noticed. You can read and listen to every transurfing book over and over and get just as inspired every single time. Wow, I can control reality. But just knowing the principles of transurfing doesn't help you because you don't know how to wake up in time to apply them. Take the "there's no mountain" principle. You just learned it. But the moment you run into even the tiniest problem, you won't even remember this principle. You'll pile up a mountain in your head and start clawing your way up it with everything you've got. So this isn't about knowledge, it's about the skill of waking up. The hardest thing to do is wake up in the middle of a situation and while caught up in an emotional state. In a dream, the situation controls you. That's why we need to work on techniques for lucid waking dreams. This is the move to the next level, where you control the situation, and more importantly, yourself. Negative experiences pull you deeper into the dream. How do you stop it? Track your attention, what it's occupied with, what dark thoughts it's chewing on. Emotional suffering is the dream, tracking it is waking up. Making up stories about yourself and your problems piles up the mountain for you. How do you get rid of it? Again, track your attention. Where it's inflating importance, where it's artificially building obstacles. You notice right away when someone near you looks gloomy and you ask, what's wrong? But you pay zero attention to yourself. You just suffer and stew in that suffering, meaning you're asleep in your waking dream. Strange, isn't it? So set an intention to watch yourself and ask yourself questions. In Priestess Eat Fat, there's an extremely clear method. To wake up inside a dream, you need to ask yourself questions. The moment something feels off, uncomfortable, heavy, CATCH yourself and ask, what am I making up right now? Am I building a mountain? Am I afraid of some event? At that moment, you've woken up and taken control of yourself and of the situation. And now you have 3 ready solutions to your problem, which most likely isn't even a problem at all. 1. Turn the negative thoughts into positive ones. 2. Set the event you actually want, ideally using a kozitsa. 3. Tell yourself there is no mountain and calmly walk across the plain. More on the kozitsa and managing events can be found in these books. 1. Turn the negative thoughts into positive ones. 2. Set the event you actually want, ideally using a kozitsa. 3. Tell yourself there is no mountain and calmly walk across the plain. The "there's no mountain" principle can be considered one of the most powerful techniques of the new time. Tafty the Priestess, walking alive through the movie. What Tafty didn't say. Tafty the Priestess. 2. Managing events. If you're not familiar with the kozitsa technique, you can skip the second step. Even the remaining 2 will help you a lot. But you could also learn the technique right now. It's described in Appendix 3. It's really not hard. The "there's no mountain" principle, if you actually follow it, can be one of the most powerful techniques of the new time. That said, simply telling yourself there's no mountain might not be simple at all. The reasons why are explained in the following chapters. Summary. You're in the waking dream constantly, always. Just knowing the principles of transurfing doesn't help you because you don't know how to wake up in time to apply them. It's not about knowledge. It's about the skill of waking up in time. In a dream, the situation controls you. Negative experiences pull you deeper into the dream. Making up stories about yourself and your problems piles up the mountain for you. Set an intention to watch yourself and ask yourself critical questions. What am I making up right now? Am I building a mountain? The moment you wake up by trigger, you need to dream markers. To be able to tell yourself there's no mountain, it's also very important to free yourself from the old programs that society installed in you. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel here. I'll just quote some passages from Tafty the Priestess to Managing Events, and you'll get the picture. There are heavy questions and situations that you respond and react to automatically, without thinking. These are the questions and situations that weigh you down, that you can't free yourself from, because you're stuck. I-N-A stupor, A asleep. The stupor is triggered by a program forced onto you that you're supposedly, by default, power lesson wrong. Recall moments in your life when you were stuck in that kind of stupor, unable to respond or act, the way you would have wanted to. And only later did you remember and realize you couldn't, because you were basically asleep. Here's a criterion to help you. A situation where you're not in control of yourself can be identified by markers, distinguishing signs. For example, like in childhood, you're wrong, you owe something, you're guilty, you're weak, you're subordinate, you're not capable. Identify which marker was defining your situation. Reader's markers. You're wrong by default, and even when you're right, you're still wrong. Other people's opinions matter enormously to me. My own opinion doesn't matter. I can't decide anything, I'm not worthy. My strongest marker, what will people think? Be like everyone else. A marker from childhood, I owe it to others. I was constantly followed by a sense of duty. That's how I was raised. As a kid, I was constantly compared to others, never favorably, and it became a habit. From my parents, I owe them, because raising me was so hard that I'll be paying it off my whole life. If I spend time on myself, I feel like I've robbed my child, as if he needs my time more than I do. I haven't earned it. I'm not worthy. When job hunting, I fixate on which skills I'm lacking. Even though I'm highly qualified with a low salary, I constantly feel like I'm not doing enough, that I should try harder. At work, people try to pin other people's mistakes on me and dump their work on me too. At work, I'm wrong by default. I stay quiet. At home with my child, I'm wrong too, a bad mother. I get offended often, for reasons and for no reason at all. Marker from childhood, I was wronged. I agree to unfair terms. I'm forced to do things I don't want to do and don't need to do. Most of my life has gone into trying to meet someone else's expectations. My mom used to say when I was little, "Who needs you besides me?" The feeling that nobody needs me has stuck with me. It's correct because everyone else does it that way. As a kid I was told, "You touched money, go wash your hands, money is dirty." Now my marker is, money doesn't stay in my hands. My husband doesn't accept me as I am. My interests seem ridiculous to him, and for some reason I go along with it. A firm belief, you have to work hard. A lot. Ever since childhood, I really wanted to hug my mother, but she was harsh with me, and now I have a complex that I'm not worthy of love or affection. My parents established, you can live without that. Now I can't allow myself anything better. I'm constantly waiting for everyone's praise, for someone to give me an A. I often hear people say about me, "Why do you keep acting so young?" Markers from childhood, comparisons where others always came out ahead. Fear of making mistakes. Fear of negative judgment. A need to be praised. You're supposed to be better than everyone at everything. And if you come in second place, that's a total failure, and you're worthless. Who needs you? Without a job, without a place of your own, and with a kid on top of it. Marker, act in whatever way benefits other people. I'm afraid to say no. Installed by my husband, you do everything badly. At work, we work together, and at home. Growing up, my parents worked themselves to the bone, and there was still never any money. And now, I work a lot too, and there's no money. Turns out, it's not about the work. Constant competition with others, constantly comparing myself to someone. You're not good enough for this. I'm not good enough. I have to earn it. I have no value. A powerful marker, age. It's too late for me for everything, and I mean anything, starting from a fairly young age. That got drilled into me somewhere too. Tracking the markers. To break out of a looping dream that keeps repeating itself, you need to see it. Understand which markers have controlled you and which ones still control and weigh on you now. It's like regressive hypnosis, when, from your present state, you relive and become aware of past states. They stop repeating themselves and stop controlling you. That said, it's not quite that simple. Some markers fall away the moment you become aware of them, while others keep hooking into you like a barb. Watch yourself. Watch how you follow the script. Let your markers become your triggers. Catch yourself and observe yourself. Catch yourself the moment you fall under a marker's spell again. Learning to catch yourself is the first thing you need to master. Once more, what are markers? They're negative beliefs that bind you, limit you, and pull you into the dream. Examples. You're wrong by default. You owe something. You're guilty. You're weak. You're subordinate. You're not capable. Markers were either hung on you by someone else, or you hung them on yourself at some point. Maybe you did it after some defeat that hit you hard, or from a sense of inadequacy and hopelessness. Or your parents did it deliberately to keep you in line and manipulate you. What's the most destructive thing about a marker? IT pulls you into the dream. Say, if as a child you were told that you owe everyone, then even now you're easy to manipulate. All someone has to do is remind you that you owe them, and that's it, you're a zombie. Some movies have a plot where a person is hypnotized and a behavior program is installed with a code word. And the instant they hear that code word, a marker, in our case, they immediately fall into an unthinking state and start acting out the program. So, you need to learn to wake up by trigger, constantly, always, as I've said more than once in the first book. Don't get lazy, it's in your own best interest. A typical trigger is, something is weighing on you. How do you get rid of it? Identify which negative belief is generating that state, and then replace the negative belief with a positive one. For example, do I owe this? No. I'm free. Can I not do this? No. I can do anything. Am I weak? No. Strength is in me and with me. Declare the new beliefs in your mind or out loud together with the Kositsa, or just keep repeating them to yourself constantly. And make sure you track the shifts, the confirmations that it's working. You will absolutely see them. If you're consistent in your practice, your negative markers will be replaced by positive beliefs. From Tafti, the Priestess, to Managing Events, Summary. To be able to tell yourself, there's no mountain, it's very important to free yourself from the old programs society installed in you. The stupor is triggered by a program forced onto you, that you're supposedly, by default, powerless and wrong. You only realize afterward, looking back, that you were as if asleep. Markers are negative beliefs that bind you, limit you, and pull you into the dream. For example, as a child you were told, you're wrong, you owe something, you're guilty, you're weak, you're subordinate, you're not capable. Identify which marker was defining your situation. You need to see and understand which markers controlled you, and which ones still control and weigh on you now. Some markers fall away the moment you become aware of them, while others keep hooking into you like a barb. Let your markers become your triggers. Catch yourself the moment you fall under a marker's spell again. You need to replace the negative belief with a positive one. Declare the new beliefs, keep repeating them to yourself constantly, and make sure you track the shifts, the confirmations that it's working, exploding your problems. In Tafti, the Priestess 2, Managing Events, a comprehensive technique was introduced for the first time, exploding your problems while simultaneously setting your new reality. We'll call this technique I Can Do Anything. It helps you free yourself from your embedded thought markers, at least temporarily. It consists of 3 steps. 1. Enter a state of comfort and calm. 2. Explode your biofield. Enter the state of I can do anything. 3. From that state, set your target frame. The target frame is the end result. What you want to achieve, however you picture it. In thoughts, words, or images, whatever works best for you. A short, concentrated burst of your intention. Techniques for setting a target frame are collected in Appendix 3. Let's look at the second step, since it produces an interesting effect. Take a sharp exhale through your nose and imagine a shockwave bursting out of your body and flying outward, up, down, and to the sides. The shockwave is made of some kind of substance, energy, air, whatever. Doesn't matter, whatever you prefer. Pay special attention to your shoulders, feel the wave spreading outward from them. But in any case, do it however feels comfortable for you. It doesn't matter whether you are lying down, standing, or sitting. On the exhale, trigger this kind of expansion in the plane of your body. If you can't feel the explosion going out in every direction, just do what you can, even if it's just out through your shoulders. At the same time, say out loud or silently the thought form, I am free, or I can do anything. You can repeat expanding yourself several times in a row with similar thought forms like, there are no limits. Don't be afraid of the word no here. What matters is the meaning you put into the thought form. Pay attention to how it feels. Trigger this expansion on the exhale, in the plane of your body, as if it's spreading outward in a circular wave, like ripples on water. Exhale through your nose so your attention stays on the expansion of your biofield rather than on the exhale itself. Even without the thought form, this exercise alone produces a feeling of strength, lightness, of being freed from something. Here's what Tafti readers have said. Some kind of lightness appeared, like I reset myself. The feelings are amazing. Like I lit up from the inside. I think this practice helps cleanse me. A state of lightness, freedom, faith in myself. Felt a surge of strength and energy. A feeling of being charged with energy. A rush of strength. A boost. Lightness and boundlessness. A feeling of lightness and euphoria. A pleasant sense of your own omnipotence. Like Neo from The Matrix. This state comes over you where it feels like everything's going to work out. I can do anything. It relieves stress. Gives you faith that you're the creator of your own reality. A kind of excitement, like anticipation. Powerful effect. A feeling of strength and weightlessness at the same time. I swear wings grew out of my back. Awesome. The negativity drops away, you feel strength, confidence, lightness, and you feel unified with the universe. Our Tafty, like eat fat, we're getting results. I'm completely free. The blast blew away all the blocks. Where does this feeling of lightness come from for everyone? It turns out that expanding your biofield, specifically IN, the plane of the body, releases the little weights of problems and obligations that people hang on themselves and then carry around. These little weights hang constantly in your biofield as energetic clenches, and they literally block the free flow of energy, restrict your will and your ability to act. When you do this kind of biofield flush, those clenches release. The sensations vary from person to person, but the result is always the same: liberation and an increase in personal power. That said, the effect is temporary, so you need to seize the moment and set your reality right after you release the blocks. For a lasting effect, you need to practice regularly. Not only energetic clenches release, but some physical ones too. Practicing regularly, even just a few times a day, while setting your reality at the same time, frees you from inferiority complexes, for instance. And of course, the effectiveness of setting. Your reality goes up significantly too. Just to remind you, setting reality isn't classic transurfing. It's the new set of techniques laid out in Tafty the Priestess, Walking Alive Through the Movie, and Tafty the Priestess 2, Managing Events. Before telling yourself there's no mountain, it's also a good idea to do the I can do anything technique first. I'll say it again, the sense of liberation may be temporary. To fully unblock yourself, there are some deeper-seated problems you'll still need to clear out. You really can do anything. More on that in Appendix 4, Summary. 1. Enter a state of comfort and calm. 2. Explode your biofield, say the thought form. I can do anything. 3. From this new state, set your target frame. We entered the new reality. 2022 was a strange, explosive year in every sense. A lot happened and got rethought that year. Actually, if I think back over the 3 years before it too, techniques for setting a target frame are collected in Appendix 3. The second step produces a feeling of strength, lightness, and liberation from something. The effect is temporary, so seize the moment and set your reality right after you release the blocks. From this state, it will already be easier to tell yourself there's no mountain. For a lasting effect, you need to practice regularly. Read Appendix 4 and follow the recommendations. But I don't want to dwell on it. I need to look not even at here and now, but ahead, and set my reality in advance. My own individual reality, deliberately and stubbornly, no matter what the general reality looks like at any given moment. That said, you can't always live by intention alone. Sometimes you just want a little hope too. Transurfing doesn't exactly encourage hoping for hope, but there's nothing wrong with glancing sideways at it now and then. So that's what we did. We said things were bad right now, but soon everything would change. And that soon arrived. We entered the new reality. It didn't happen all at once. It came on gradually, like a sunrise. Something shifted already at the very start of 2023. It was as if the wind had changed. The changes showed up not just in the world around us, but in us too. Maybe you noticed it as well? I certainly felt it. Like some switch flipped inside me. It was as if I was being told, if you don't change, things will get bad, and then worse. I won't go into exactly what and how it happened with me. Everyone has their own issues. It's all individual. The main thing is to pay attention to yourself and draw your own conclusions, instead of just carrying on as before. What carrying on as before looks like is different for everyone too. Sure, you could try to keep living the way you've been living, but it's better to change something in yourself so that it shows up in a new life, so that this new life actually gets to begin in the first place. And I don't mean reinventing yourself, but producing an improved version of yourself, an upgrade. You should do this, if only for one simple reason. There's an unforgiving law that says there's no such thing as staying still, there's only growth or decline. And now there's one more compelling reason. The new reality vibrates at a higher frequency, and if you don't match it, you'll either fall behind the train or get put off it in one way or another. What does higher vibrations even mean? There's no precise definition for it in the categories of classical physics. I'd describe the difference between the old and new reality this way: the water was murky, now it's clear; the air was stale, now it's fresh; the sky was grey, now it's blue. Reality has started sounding an octave higher. Don't look at here and now, where there's the darkness of war. Look ahead. Ahead lies a great dawn and a great bloom in every sense. What does this mean for us? That we need to somehow rise to meet it. Changes in the general reality are heading in a good direction. But for positive change to happen in your individual reality too, you need to re-examine your lifestyle and your way of thinking. Maybe drop some old habits and pick up new ones. You know best how to make yourself better. Here, everyone's path is their own. But is there anything common to all of us? Definitely. It's purification. If reality has become brighter and cleaner, then the same is required of us, first and foremost. That's a good place to start. Purify your body and mind. The main principle is that both the body and the mind purify themselves, as long as you stop polluting them. It's that simple: cut junk food out of your diet and cut junk sources of information out of your field of vision. And you already know what those are. Everything that's dishonest, negative, unclean. Exactly what counts as dishonest, negative, and unclean. Nobody has the authority to tell you that. The choice has to be yours. Just clean up your own world. Take a look around and throw out the clutter from your home, from your head, from everything that touches and enters you directly. You might ask, what about everyone else who has no idea about any new realities or transitions? Are they just going to die off? That's not the point. This is about your own success. If you want to raise your quality of life and get ahead in a world of general competition, you need to know and understand certain things better than others do. Every living being on this planet will have to align itself with the new reality one way or another, but most will do it unconsciously, reflexively, and that process will be far longer and more painful for them. Failing to match the new vibrations will inevitably show up as physical ailments and various complications in life. That's why I kept asking, think back on what's happened to you since 2023. What did you feel? What went wrong? Why did problems start? Maybe the reason is that you're mismatched with something, as though you'd landed in some new environment you don't quite fit into, and what needs to change or be rebuilt in you. Try asking yourself these questions. Summary. Something shifted starting in early 2023. It was as if the wind had changed. The changes showed up not just in the world around us, but in us too. The new reality's vibrations rose higher, and if you don't match them, you'll fall behind the train. There's no such thing as staying still. There's only growth or decline. Purifying your body and mind is the first place to start. The body and mind purify themselves as long as you stop polluting them. Take a look around and throw out the clutter. From your home, from your head, from everything that touches and enters you directly. If you want to raise your quality of life and get ahead in a world of general competition, you need to know and understand certain things better than others do. Rebirth of self. I have to admit, my handlers, the higher-ups, or whoever they are, caught me off guard for the second time. The first time was when I was given the watchman's riddle. Something similar just happened again. This time it wasn't a riddle but a statement, though it's just as hard to believe. Let me tell it in order. In 2023, we started discussing the new topic of the new reality. The dark age of Pisces had ended, and the bright age of Aquarius had arrived. You can judge the transition by the changes taking place in the physics of reality and in human physiology. Broadly speaking, it's understood that reality is moving to higher vibrations, and the body, in turn, is also restructuring and transforming. In science, the phrase, "it's understood," usually shows up when there's no rigorous evidence or confirmation behind what's being said. But science, for one thing, isn't keeping pace with these changes, and for another, tends to slow down anything new that doesn't fit established norms. So, we're not going to see rigorous confirmation or evidence anytime soon, but we don't have time to wait. We have to make do with fragmentary, still unsystematic information about these shifts, which nonetheless keeps leaking through here and there. According to some information slipping past science's control, human junk DNA, previously thought to be dormant, is beginning to wake up and become active. This is the so-called dark matter of the genome, whose purpose has remained largely unclear until now. And by the way, that's 95% of all our DNA. And now these genes are waking up and producing changes in human physiology. Also very strange and hard to believe. I don't want to spell out exactly what these changes consist of, for the reason I already mentioned, the lack of solid evidence and confirmation. Science doesn't rush to announce sensational discoveries until it's thoroughly certain of them, and I was raised by academic science myself. I'm a big skeptic and a pragmatist at heart. On the other hand, as someone into esoteric matters, I'd like to believe the enthusiastic accounts of enthusiasts talking about the new reality and the new human. But still, I'm not inclined to just believe things at face value. There's no shared understanding anywhere of what the new reality actually is, where it's heading, or how it manifests. Unfortunately, enthusiasts often swing to extremes, from "we're all going to die" to "our bodies will become ethereal." They also make mistakes and get things wrong, which immediately lowers my level of trust. For example, the rise in vibrations gets confused with some supposed rising Schumann frequency. There's no such thing as the Schumann frequency. There's the Schumann resonance, a phenomenon of standing electromagnetic waves that oscillate between the Earth's surface and the ionosphere. These oscillations don't have a single frequency, it's a spectrum, a series of resonant frequencies, harmonics, 7.83, 14, 20, 26, 32, 38 Hz, and higher ones rarely. In Russia, this phenomenon is monitored by a station at Tomsk University. The frequency isn't rising, as some people claim. What you actually observe is a spectrum of oscillations with varying amplitudes across different harmonics. And on different days and at different times, this spectrum always looks different. Sometimes the higher harmonics dominate, sometimes the lower ones. But the fundamental frequency, 7.83 Hz, stays constant and remains the maximum in amplitude. What has changed is that in recent years, the spectrum has been behaving erratically and unpredictably, with unexpected spikes. Scientists don't understand what's going on. And of course, the Schumann resonance isn't even Earth's vibrations in any general sense. It's just oscillations of electromagnetic waves between the surface and the sky. Surely, the rise in reality's vibrations isn't limited to a rise in these particular oscillations. In general, what we even mean by vibrations is a big question. It's not a physical quantity, but more of a metaphysical one, on a scale from bad to good to better. Everyone basically understands what good and bad mean. So different things get characterized under that same general umbrella, as vibrations. For instance, there's low vibration energy, food and thoughts, things that are unclean and negative. And there's high vibration versions, clean and positive. And if we want to harmoniously fit into this new, improved reality, we need to correspondingly upgrade to better parameters in our body, mind, and daily life. In other words, purifying body and mind is the fundamental required condition. But that's the should or must side of things. What about the rights we get out of it? In other words, what's in it for us? Well, aligning with reality, that much is clear. But what else? There's no doubt that we've entered and continue moving into the new reality. Changes are happening in geopolitics too. A unipolar tick's turning into a multipolar one. And the weather shows unexplainable anomalies. Something is happening to people too. It's not yet clear exactly what. You might not notice changes in your own body, since the body lives within itself and only registers indirect signs, not the primary ones. This can show up as sleep disturbances, unusual dips in well-being, headaches, mood swings, and of course, illness. Overall, we're going through a kind of restructuring of ourselves and our whole environment. And if something is even happening to our DNA, that's, let's say, a big deal. Thinking about all this, I found myself asking a follow-up question. If such fundamental changes are underway, why not use this? Commotion. Not just to change, but to be reborn entirely. I, for one, wouldn't mind shedding about 40 years. By the way, the main cause of aging is considered to be the shortening of telomeres, which are part of that junk, DNA. Maybe the mechanics of aging are changing too? And can we actually take advantage of that? It's a bold question, to say the least, maybe even a funny one from a scientific point of view. But where exactly is that point of view right now? Science itself is in a state of confusion. Is regeneration of the body even possible under these conditions? Bringing it back to an earlier state, say to how you were at 20, within reason of course, for whatever your age is. I sent this question to the place where all my information comes from, the space of variance. And I got an affirmative answer. The answer was clear and confident. Why, yes, is possible, not in words, but as a clear, unambiguous understanding. When this happens to me, it means the first criterion of truth has been met. What remains is the second criterion. Practical experience. Of course, everything needs to be verified. There's no way around that. But usually, insights like this have always been confirmed for me in practice. That's very encouraging. So, we'll go verify it. Want to do it together? Going forward, I'll be telling you what, according to what's come to me, this requires. And what do you think about all of this? Summary. Reality is moving to higher vibrations, and the body is also restructuring and transforming to harmoniously fit into the new, improved reality.